Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today we're talking about why did my ex ghost me, but we'll also talk about why did my dating partner or who I'm seeing ghost me. Because this comes up a lot too, and it's a reality for people that they can't understand why someone doesn't want to talk to them. And ghosting means I don't want to talk to you at all. I don't want to see you. And so your mind runs with answers and answers and thoughts and open loops and cliffhangers, missing puzzle pieces. But people are allowed to ghost you. They have their reasons. The problem is why you're connected to someone that ghosted you. Now, if it's someone that's your ex of 2 years, 3 years, you had a passionate, good relationship, then that's a bit odd. That's going to be harder to swallow, harder to figure out. If you started dating someone, and I started this live stream a few minutes ago and just got cut off, so I'm restarting it again. But if you were dating someone, and this happens a lot more than ever before, because a lot of times you're dating people on dating apps that you don't really know. And so you go on 2 or 3 dates and you just assume that the person likes you as much as you like them, and they ghost you after 2 or 3 days. Why did they do that? The short answer, they're not interested right now. But the longer answer, there's all kinds of things that could happen. Someone in their family could have became sick. They could have just lost their job. I just had a client recently. She had a really big thing going on at work. I mean, a really big thing. And basically, everyone at her job got fired except her. So she said it was a small startup company, 8 or 9 employees. She was the first employee. She got special treatment. They basically canned all the employees. They kept her, and she felt bad, so she ended up quitting. But it was just a lot of drama, right? And because of that drama, her patience were low in her relationship, and her sensitivity was at an all-time high, and they ended up breaking up. And this isn't a case of ghosting per se, but people want answers to these questions. Why did they ghost me? Good question. You're going to have to ask them. They're the only ones that know the factual answer. There's a lot of I think, it's maybe this. There's not a lot of I know with confidence. And even when you do ask the person, do you trust their answer? The reality is, accept that they don't want to talk to you, and it's not personal. Now, I had a story that was sent in a few days ago to writemac.com. And if you have a story you want to send in and get my take on it in a YouTube video like this, go right ahead. WRITEMAC.com. But anyways, 3 years ago, I was 19. I met this girl in my college. It's been 3 months without contact. We see each other occasionally in college, but we became best friends pretty quick. She said she had stuff that was going on in her life, and although I loved her, she was unstable. She's always pursuing really toxic guys. At the time, she was only my best friend. We were always 24/7 with each other in college. We're together. We finish college, and then we go out together to spend the day together in my house. So eventually I got feelings. So just to rewind, first let's talk about this. You were 19, so you don't have a lot of experience in relationships, it doesn't sound like. You're also in college, which is an atmosphere and an environment that is not easy to stay monogamous, to stay dialed in, okay? Now, the fact that you decided to be her quote-unquote best friend, good for you. You know, there's a lot of people out there, there's a lot of coaches, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube saying men can't be friends with women. Yes, they can. As an individual, you can. But just be honest with yourself. You also can be friends with a woman that you cop feelings for, that you suddenly like her, and you didn't foresee that coming. That's fine. It's not ideal. Okay? And again, because you feel this way doesn't mean she feels that way. Now, here's where the red flag is. We became best friends pretty quick. Now, me personally, I got a lot of friends. I know a lot of people. I've had a few different jobs. I lived in a few different countries. Okay? if someone's in my best friends group and I don't classify one of my buddies as you're my bestie, you're my best friend. I just don't. But if they're going to be categorized in the top 10, if I was ever going to do that, it wouldn't be pretty quick we became best friends. Okay, it takes time to be quote unquote best friends. She had stuff that was going on in her life. This is where you're really vague because you're writing out your story. But if you did a live coaching session where we talked about it, I'd be like, well, what's the stuff going on in her life? Because this is relevant to the situation. This is where it makes a big difference to talk to me about this. And although I loved her, so we're best friends to I loved her, which, can you love your best friend? Absolutely. If you have romantic, intimate feelings for that best friend that's a female and you're a male, just remember this, and I've said this many times. The definition of love is unique to your definition of love. So just because you love someone doesn't mean they're going to love you the same way back, even if they say they love you. And although I loved her, she was unstable. She's always pursuing toxic guys. Now, that's the part that I would underline, highlight. She was unstable. Number one, regardless if she likes or loves you, do you want to get into a relationship? You're 19 years old 3 years ago with an unstable person. Would you recommend that to a friend, family, or colleague? Unstable is a big statement about someone's character or where they're at. If you ask me, if I'm dating someone and looking at it as a long-term relationship of someone I love that I'm deeply into, but they're unstable, well, instability, if it's called that, is going to bleed over to other parts of her life. She's always pursuing really toxic guys. Now, this is the interesting part. At the same time, she was my only best friend. We were always together 24/7. So, who says they're toxic guys? You? Because that's a biased opinion. You have feelings for her, you're interested in her, and you're judging the guy she's talking to. It's kind of like your favorite sports team. I'm a huge Niners fan. I'm a Warriors fan, right? I'm going to find reasons why they're better than other teams, all right? I'm not that biased, but I am biased, right? This idea that you're plucking out these guys that are toxic for her, but you're the good one, but you're passively being a friend. Maybe you're right. Maybe you are really good for her. Maybe you're a stand-up dude. A lot of my clients and people that come to me, they're good people. But your pursuit here is passive, and it's not attractive. So at the time, she was my only best friend. Now, when you say she was my only best friend, is that pity-seeking? Is that her fault? And I'd add, if you only have one best friend or one really good friend when you're in college, it's good to have a few. It's good to have a few people you lean on, right? Because people are going to go through their own stuff. People go through changes, especially in their early 20s and in college, and they're not as reliable. And this is one of the things I mentioned. I briefly, I said people in their early 20s are unreliable in relationships. We were always 24/7. We were together. We finished college. Then we go out together to spend the day together in my house. So eventually I got feelings. I think you had feelings all along, if you're going to be honest. But I didn't tell her because she had feelings with two other guys, and she was always hinting that she likes me, actually told me she loved me. All right, well, you're putting yourself in this situation. Okay, like this idea that, oh, she hinted about these other guys. You playing friend or best friend and not telling her how you really feel or making a move and polarizing the situation, you're creating your own jail, okay? The fact that you think she's around toxic guys and likes toxic guys, that's not something you're going to change, and you're not going to be the white knight, right? You're not going to be the special guy. She always hinting, she actually told me she loved me lots of times and even talked about fantasizing, having intimacy with me, but I didn't pursue it. Why? So this is a big issue because you're the nice guy, because you're not a toxic guy. She makes sexual innuendos to you that she's fantasizing about you, and you don't make a move because you're a good guy, because you saw it in a movie. It's unattractive. because she had conflicting thoughts about two other guys. But as soon as she told me that it was over, I told her about my feelings. Then she was surprised and told me, let's take it slow because I really like you and I want to take things slow because I see a future together. And then everything was going perfect. She was like talking about marriage and stuff. And then that I was the love that she always wanted. Then boom, suddenly she texts me that she isn't comfortable with being in a relationship and told me that she needs space. I gave her space. I only texted. So the fact that she said she needs space, because this is the only thing you're giving me here. If we were in a live coaching session, I ask you a lot of questions about this to get a little deeper. If she says, I need space, translation, you're not giving me space. Translation, you're texting me too much. Translation, we're not best friends anymore. The relationship changed. But also, let's just throw in the fact that when you started this thing, she had interest in two other dudes. Okay? Don't think that those guys just disappeared or fell off a cliff. They're still texting her. Okay? Doesn't mean she got with them, but the fact that she just cut you off once you started talking, you probably did something to turn her off. And I'm guessing by the way you wrote this and the way you've acted that you became a bit needy, which is woman repellent. I gave her space. I only texted her on her birthday to tell her happy birthday. Then after a few weeks, she told me that she doesn't want me in her life anymore, and she blocked me on everything, and it's been 3 months without contact. If I had to guess, and this is just probability, she's with someone else and she didn't want to hurt your feelings and be upfront about it. The fact that she went 0 to 100 on her feelings and I love you so much and talked about marriage, 0 to 100 can go 100 to 0 very quick. The faster you can drive the car, the slower you can drive the car. Everything that goes up can't come down. I personally like, in a long-term relationship, a woman that it takes a little bit of time till she gets to a hundo. She's not talking about marriage or those kinds of things 1 month, 2 months in. Now, I know you know each other 3 years and you're best friends. The fact that she just stopped contacting you tells me there's something else here that's left out of the story, which is common in writing your story, that I'm missing. Okay? And I would have to guess that it's probably you became really needy and probably texted her 100 times a day. But I also would have to guess that these two other guys that were quote unquote toxic, she's probably with one of them. If she's not, and she did that, you have a right, if you're strong enough, because I don't think she's coming back. I don't think she had that much of an interest in getting together. And I think she's had pockets of time where she's been interested in you or attracted to you, but she's in that 19 to 22, 23-year-old range in college. You said she's unstable. You said she was interested in two other guys that you knew of. She's not ready to be in a serious relationship. You are. That's not a good mix. Skinner, how you doing? So just to wrap that with a little bit of a bow, right? Don't be friends when you don't really want to be friends. There's a difference. A lot of people do this too, right? A lot of people do this. Why did they ghost me? There's a lot of reasons they could have ghosted you. I'm not, the only person that's going to know is them. Now, the other part of this is that's pretty rotten. And I often tell people this when we dissect their breakup and break it down and unpack it. When someone's honest with you, they're seeing someone else, that's difficult to do. When they come up and they're like, look, I've been talking to someone else, I've been seeing someone else. And I've known multiple guys, this is not just clients, but friends, family, that have been confronted by their girlfriends, long-term girlfriends, one a wife, that basically, yeah, I've been cheating. I just want to tell you up front. Right? And they accept it. Well, what am I going to do? I told her I didn't care. We need to work this out. That's okay. But are you going to trust her again? But what I would add to that, at least you got someone telling you the truth. Right? But here's the rub on all this. A lot of people come to me and they go, I wish I never knew. Women do that. Long-term, how is he so stupid to get caught? They're almost pissed that the dude got sloppy and didn't cover up his text messages. I've heard that numerous times. So either way, it hurts. Now, if someone ghosts you, number one, they're no longer interested. The reason they don't want to share with you, most likely they don't think you can handle it, or they can't handle, quote unquote, hurting you. Now, the worst case scenario is instead of ghosting, someone makes you the bad guy. That's a really shitty one. They don't have the guts to break up with you, so they complain, they bitch, they moan, and then any chance they get, they stomp on anything bad that you do, make a big deal out of it, and dare you to break up with them so they can walk away feeling like, well, I didn't hurt you, you broke up with me. And that lacks courage. A lot of people do that one too, but they do it not knowing they're doing it. So when the person ghosts you from dating, your problem is you're on a dating app. You met someone you like, you're highly attracted to them, and you somehow think you know them because you went on 2 or 3 dates. Newsflash. If that individual is, I don't know, a 6 out of 10 on attraction level on one of these dating apps, 6 to 7, they're getting traction from other people. You got competition. Now, I'm not telling you to figure out what the competition is, but when someone stops talking to you after 2 or 3 dates, they're probably talking to someone else they're more interested in. Now, how you handle that, rather than texting them and calling them or sending them stories or trying to get their attention, will benefit you or hurt you, because they might circle back. These dating apps are very fluid. And what people are discovering over and over again, and me as a coach, is they're very shallow files you're getting on people. You think that, I got a profile on this person? You don't know shit about them. Oh, but this is what it says in their profile. Really? You might as well believe a commercial, right? It's like being back in America. I haven't been back for a while. Seeing these commercials are so fake. Do people really believe this stuff? Right? Your dating profile is a commercial a lot of times. People that are really good at them, they use filters on their pictures, seductive clothing on women, which is sexy and catches the eye. Do they dress like that all day, every day? Do they look like that all day, every day? It's kind of like fast food, right? Your average fast food. Does it really look like that when you order it as the same as the picture? Come on, man. Chris the Critic, Lofo T03. Yo. I have one more thing to unpack real quick. Appreciate the likes. We got 5 on deck. So this is a client of mine that is in a situation where basically him and his ex broke up, I believe, over a year ago. They had a good relationship, but it was very up and down all around, hot and cold towards the end. They fought a lot. She's doing really well right now. She's kind of a changed person. She's got her career on deck, and he misses the hell out of her. He hasn't begged and pleaded, but over the last few months, he sent out a couple emails that basically said, I want to get back together. Here's the crazy thing. The letters that he sent and the details that he sent, I wouldn't recommend that for most guys to do. Love letters conveying my undying love and me wanting to get back together, it's pitiful, it's unattractive, it's desperate, it's needy, and it lacks any kind of challenge. And here's the crazy part. You broke up for a reason. You've been broken up for a while. If someone's coming back to someone else, a lot of times, especially women, they want it to be their idea. They don't want it to be something that you sold them on, that you've changed, or you just want them back. And you want them back in one day. And that's very, very limited thinking, right? Very limited thinking. It's kind of like saying, going to your boss and going, hey, I want $1 million. It's like, well, maybe we can work on that in a little while. It's 0 to 100. So this guy says that he just sent one of these emails recently, and it wasn't over the top big, but just letting her know he missed her and this and that. He was having a weak moment, and that's okay because they're kind of an off and on talk, and she's receptive. So she called him 2 weeks later after not responding to the email. They had a long talk about, the birds, the bees, the flowers, and the trees, what's going on, how you been. And then at the end, she dropped just to let you know, why do you keep trying? I'm never going back with you. And he says, I told her I respected her space, this, that, and the other. Now, here's the thing about that. If someone makes a declaration statement, like I'll never do that, and no one asked them, then some piece of them actually kind of wants to do it. So for example, if Skinner or Chris the Critic comes over to me, and says, I'll never go on your show live as a caller. It's like, okay, I never asked you, Chris, right? Or Skinner. So deep down in your head, you're throwing that out there, but I never asked you. That's on your mind. You have it in your mind. Well, before this person asks me or they don't ask me, let me just reject them so I can keep the ball in my court, so I can put them in my frame. You see how that works? And you'll notice this when people make declaration statements and you're like, what? There was a woman I used to know that really liked a friend of mine. And she's pretty promiscuous. She had a few boyfriends. She's one of those with a trucker's mouth. And she went up to his girlfriend, who she's friendly with, and she was like, I'll just use fictitious names. Me and John never hooked up. We never slept together. It's like, the girlfriend's like, okay. But we all know that she always wanted to sleep with John. You see what I mean? So the fact that she declared that statement, gave him a call, means that she has some interest. Now, how do you deal with that? I'll tell you this. It's mental Aikido. You don't fight it. You don't give that statement any sort of weight. What would you do? You'd say something more like, okay, and change the subject. Do not try to talk her out of that. That's how she feels. That's what she wants. That's okay. So I just wrote back an email. My advice: have the conversation when she calls and don't bring up getting back together again. What do I mean by that? She called you 2 weeks after an email. Have the conversation. If she makes a declaration statement like, I'll never get back with you, just say okay or laugh it off. Don't give it any weight. Don't go deeper on it. Accept that that's how she feels right now. Then you don't have to say, oh, I accept that. I respect you. You can just go, okay. And just change the subject. Then change the subject. Show her that it doesn't bother you at all. But at the same time, you prove to her that you don't want to press her on that any longer. See what I mean? You don't take any resistance. There's no counterpunch here. It's just a move out of the way kind of a thing. Don't send love letters or anything, again, pertaining to getting back together. It's pity-seeking and unattractive. Talk to her when she calls you, and if you want to call her, the line seems open. Just keep things simple and have a good connection on the call. If possible, you end the call on your terms. Show interest in the current life. That's all. Work, what's been up. No hidden agenda of getting back together or getting married. Doesn't mean you can't flirt or be charming. Just don't bring up the big topic of getting back together. If you visit, because this guy lives out of her area, if you visit her hometown or city, ask her out for dinner. She's been receptive to talking to you. And treat the date as one date, not a way of getting back together. If she says no, just say okay. Don't try to talk her into it. and leave it alone for a bit. If she says, okay, but this isn't a date, declaration statement, we are not getting back together, say, okay, let's still get dinner and have a good time. So you didn't, when you say, okay, let's still have dinner, you're just neutralizing her statement. You're not agreeing to it in any way. You're not making a big deal out of it. It will be good to catch up. This isn't a sales job where you're telling her how good the product or service is. It's a dance with a bit of challenge and uncertainty and mystery. When you go straight to, I want you back, you ruin the dance. Does that make sense to anyone out there? All right, this live stream today was going to be a short one anyways. Skinner, I'm glad you were on deck. If you're still there, Chris. Lofo T03, good to see you. Haven't seen you on before. Thanks for riding today. I will be back on soon enough. Take it easy.